On August 7th, the water has not yet receded. A young man from Zhuozhou was eager to return home. This is because the dog and cat he raised did not evacuate with him. Seeing the mess everywhere, his heart shattered. The only consolation was that the big golden retriever he owned was still waiting for him on the roof.
生活了这么久的地方被淹了，说实话，真有点不敢进去。狗不知道还在不在，猫肯定是不在了。你看这墙皮全部裂开，这块水深我估计最高的时候得有3米吧。院子里一片狼藉，全是恶臭的淤泥，还是双鸭。走吧。
哎，站着，狗还在呢，可以买点。给，好吃吗？啊，再来一个。哎，还有一个。哎，真厉害！
屋里去看看，看着是清晰可见的水位线。
看这水最高的时候到这儿，挺最高，比我还高，1.885米的水。
上周还在那吃饭睡觉看电视，这周就全没了。唉，突然想到一句话：欲买桂花，同载酒，终不似。少年游，还是要及时行乐吧。
冰箱。
你看墙上都有这么厚的淤泥，半个房子高的水位线，还有一些坍塌的围墙，真是太难了。离开的路上，发现每个人都在清理自己的家，内心真是五味杂陈。唉，不说了。
In an effort to safeguard Beijing and the Xiong'an New District during the persistent heavy rain, the Chinese Communist Party has consistently channeled a large volume of floodwater towards areas including Zhuozhou and Bazhou in Hebei Province. This action led these regions to experience severe flooding, essentially making them collateral damage. While the disaster victims are in dire straits, since the flood disaster began at the end of July, CCP officials have never appeared at the front line of disaster relief and have not gone to the resettlement areas to comfort those who have lost their homes. This has caused strong dissatisfaction among the public. On August 7th, a video uploaded by netizens showed that the floodwaters in a small town in Jojo had receded and the streets were cleaned up. A delegation from the Zhuozhou municipal government visited the town, and as locals tried to capture the scene on their mobile phones, an official tried to stop them. This led to a resident angrily rebuking him.
为什么不让拍啊？因为那个咱们怎么了？为什么不让拍啊？为什么？那水大的时候没电的时候怎么不来啊？怎么这会儿来了呀？对不对？弄完了你们来了，早怎么不来啊？为什么不让拍啊？
On August 3rd, the mayor of Baoding City, which oversees Zhuozhou, led a team to inspect the Fanyang Bridge. The floodwaters there had also receded, and the area had been cleaned up. It seems absurd for the mayor to only now be supervising flood relief efforts. In the video, a few official-looking individuals can be seen, holding bags and posing for photographs. Even more infuriating is that on August 6th, when the victims were still grappling with the loss of their homes and property, tour boats actually showed up for sightseeing in a flood storage area in Langfang, Hebei. Villagers were outraged, exclaiming,
我这房现在已经泡着了，你们都这么忍心吗？就说呀，
船没有大火啊。
Another video shows a group of People's Liberation Army soldiers acting out carrying sandbags by a river, seemingly being directed by someone. The water level in the river doesn't appear to be very high, leading to speculation if it was preventive work or just a staged photo op. Yet another video captured by netizens shows a group of People's Liberation Army soldiers handling sandbags in what looks like a city center. They're blatantly staging photo ops, making people criticize the government's handling of the situation. However, where are the real flood prevention efforts? It appears that local residents have taken the initiative, forming emergency response teams to do the necessary work. Moreover, to prevent any unauthorized flood releases by the authorities, many villagers in certain areas have found it necessary to maintain 24-hour watches in shifts. In Dashangjiaying village of Gaobeidian City in Hebei, local residents have stood guard for several days to protect their homes from flooding. But what's the current situation for those who have already been inundated due to controlled flood releases? On August 7th, a netizen uploaded footage from Nanzhangzhuang village in Bazhou City.
This is Nanqing Village, and what you see is from today, August 7th. The village has been hit hard by the flood, and there's an urgent need for supplies, especially tents, beds, blankets, and other daily necessities. Many elderly folks are finding it hard to move, so they're currently sleeping on the ground. We hope some kind-hearted individuals can donate some supplies. Even basic items would be greatly appreciated. Whether you wish to come personally or contact me, both are fine. Please note, we are not accepting any monetary donations.
The individual sharing the video specifically emphasizes that they prefer direct delivery of relief supplies, only requesting daily necessities and no cash. This is due to perceived governmental inefficiencies and obstacles which prevent a significant amount of relief materials from reaching those genuinely in need. Online, there are numerous posts from affected residents urging people not to donate money. A message reads, "Please don't donate money to our disaster-stricken area. The funds are just being wasted by corrupt officials on expensive alcohol and women. Seriously, don't donate money. Those of us who have drowned can't use it, and the living won't see a cent of it. The donated money is going to waste." A video shot by a netizen shows an official warehouse filled with relief goods. Piles of bottled water, instant noodles, and blankets are seen stored up. Meanwhile, on the other side, desperate residents in need wait for aid. The person sharing the video mentions that for villagers to access these relief supplies, they have to go through a lengthy bureaucratic process.
Hey, the storeroom is packed with supplies. I asked around, and the villagers can't just come and get them. Only higher-level departments with proper documentation can claim them. Ordinary folks hardly get anything. Who knows how long it'll take for these goods to reach those in need? Just look at the amount here. It's insane.
Some online users have commented, "It's like plucking feathers from a passing goose." Donated funds and items have to first go through the hands of corrupt officials. What's left for the actual victims? Just a symbolic few packets of instant noodles and bottles of water. What's even more astounding is that some places are allegedly requiring donated relief goods to be sent to supermarkets, turning it into a business venture. A volunteer couple mentioned, "We won't unload our donations here. If we see villagers, we'll hand them the supplies directly. If not, we'll take them back." If you ever wonder how shameless the CCP can be, there are countless incidents to show you. Efforts to distribute relief materials directly to the victims are met with strong resistance from local government departments. This is a truckload of relief supplies donated by volunteers from Hebei Province, Gaobeidian County to the disaster-stricken people in Zhuozhou. They wanted to deliver these supplies directly to those affected. However, local officials insisted they drop off the goods at a designated point. Unwilling to comply, the volunteers took back the supplies. Moreover, a prominent Chinese actor, Wang Baoqiang, personally delivered supplies to the disaster area, but was criticized by the authorities. The volunteer from Baiyangdian, whom we mentioned in a previous video, has spoken out again. He's urging people to donate old clothes, blankets, and disinfectants to the affected areas.
I'm really sorry to the folks in the flood discharge area. They won't let our civilian boats help with the rescue. Now, there's something important I want to discuss. I want to get in touch with villagers hit hardest by the disaster and deliver supplies directly to them, because only they truly know what they're lacking and what they need most. I want to stress this. I'm looking to connect with good-hearted, honest villagers with a sense of responsibility. Reach out to me directly, and I'll send the relief supplies right over.
We have noted that this volunteer also mentioned that the authorities have prohibited their civilian boats from participating in rescue operations. According to online reports, on August 5th, the Hebei Armed Police Force took full control of the local disaster area, and all civilian rescue teams were asked to leave. Locals said that during the flooding, they seldom saw members of the armed police participating in the rescue operations. Instead, it was the civilian rescue organizations that were actively involved. Now that the floodwaters have receded, the armed police suddenly appeared. This has led to speculation that the authorities are concerned about the true extent of the disaster being revealed, with rumors suggesting that in just one village there were bodies everywhere. Online comments claim that the death toll from the flooding in Jojo has become a top secret for the Chinese Communist Party. In an effort to control the narrative, Hebei authorities issued a gag order. A report from Radio Free Asia on August 7th cites a mainland journalist who disclosed that the Zhuozhou City Propaganda Department has ordered its subordinate units and company employees not to release disaster-related information or accept interviews from reporters outside the province. This journalist further stated that the propaganda department had identified some rescuers maliciously live-streaming the rescue process, which supposedly tarnished the region's image. Another volunteer mentioned that authorities have shot down several drones that were capturing footage of the disaster area without permission. To protect their 1,000-year plan for Xiong'an, Hebei activated 7 flood storage areas where water still has not receded until now, causing prolonged man-made disasters in various locations. Some netizens have commented that the devastation in Zhuozhou is reminiscent of the scenes after the 2011 earthquake and subsequent tsunami in East Japan. They call Jojo a man-made tsunami. The video blogger has a cold storage facility in Jojo, which was entirely submerged in the flood, resulting in significant losses for him.
Today's August 7th, the 7th day after the flood discharge. Let's take a look. As soon as you enter, there's a pungent smell, even through the masks. 3 cold storages, covering 600 square meters, full of goods, all submerged. The stench is already wafting out. I urge Zhuozhou's relevant departments to pay attention. I'm worried about the spread of infections.
When the floods came, everything was at risk. Not only were people severely affected, but countless livestock and aquatic animals raised by the farmers also perished. Due to YouTube's community guidelines, we cannot show the tragic scenes of animals that have drowned. However, some animals were fortunate. They climbed up the trees when the floodwaters came, narrowly escaping the disaster. After the floodwaters receded, people were surprised to find a pig stranded up in the tree, unable to climb down. One of the flood victims from Jojo returned home after the waters receded. Upon opening his front door, he was deeply moved to discover his dog had waited for him throughout the ordeal. Netizens commented that they could seemingly see tears in the dog's eyes. A chicken farm was also inundated. Fortunately, the coops on the 2nd and 3rd floors were high enough that some chickens were spared from the flooding. However, they were starving. This video is from a sturgeon farm in Jojo, where countless dead fish can be seen piled up. The owner reported a loss of about 1,000 tons of sturgeon, translating to a financial hit of more than 30 million yuan. The farm is now in urgent need of safe disposal measures. Many vehicles and personal belongings of flood victims were swept away by the floodwaters. It is said that, unless car owners had purchased comprehensive car insurance, insurance companies would not compensate for the damages. Unfortunately, many car owners, to save money, had only purchased mandatory third-party liability insurance, leaving them without any compensation. The victims in the flood discharge area suffered heavy losses. However, the government, attributing the heavy rainfall as a natural disaster, has been reluctant to offer compensation. Since August 5th, a large number of residents from Bazhou gathered outside the city government headquarters, holding banners with messages like "Give back our homes," and "It was clearly due to flood discharge, but they blamed the rain." Protests led to confrontations between the police and citizens. The main reasons for the Bazhou flood victims' protests were twofold. Firstly, the issue of accountability. Local officials initially claimed the flooding was solely due to heavy rainfalls. However, victims suspect that the authorities, in an effort to protect Beijing and the Xiong'an New area, intentionally breached the dikes, designating Bazhou as the flood discharge area. On August 7th, flood victims from areas along the Daqing River in Bazhou approached the government again to voice their concerns and uphold their basic human rights. In response, the authorities mobilized a large police force for stability maintenance, even resorting to the use of pepper spray to disperse the crowds. Many of the protesting victims suffered eye injuries from the pepper spray. Villagers involved in the protests revealed that the demonstrations stemmed from disagreement with the government's relief measures. Authorities have pledged to provide a daily allowance of 30 yuan to each affected resident for 3 months, distributed every 15 days. However, there hasn't been any communication about compensating our property losses, one villager stated. This villager also mentioned that the entire village is submerged, with many homes destroyed. Currently, it's impossible to enter the village. The water level hasn't receded, so it's hard to assess the extent of the damage. Amid rising public sentiment, the Bazhou city government eventually acknowledged that the Hebei provincial government had previously decided to discharge floodwater towards Bazhou starting from August 1st, expressing gratitude for the villagers' sacrifices. In an August 7th column for the Hong Kong Economic Journal, Writer Gao Tianyou remarked that this massive flood resulted in tens of thousands of homes inundated and hundreds of thousands displaced. It's unrealistic for the common people to expect proper compensation and resettlement from the Bazhou municipal government. Thus, making noise about the issue is a way to get the central government's attention. The article further explained that if this flooding is purely a natural disaster, the government's primary responsibility is relief. However, if certain areas are deliberately used for flood discharge, the government is obligated to compensate for the losses, as per temporary measures for compensation in retention and flood discharge zones. Collective protests in Bazhou are mostly about compensation and resettlement issues. The Bazhou government is already heavily indebted, and the central CCP government is also financially strained. The authorities' lackluster disaster relief, combined with an unwillingness to compensate victims, have led them to solicit public donations. However, given the local government's poor track record in disaster relief, the public is reluctant to contribute. Following a call for donations, many netizens posted critical comments, some even sarcastically urging a Donate 1 cent campaign. The official response was to disable the comments. Netizens also noted that amidst China's crisis, the CCP donated around $151,000 to Somalia's Disaster Management Agency on August 6. Recently, flood-stricken Sudan also received significant aid from the CCP, 10 million yuan, and food supplies worth 30 million yuan. Some netizens have pointed out that only in July this year, Xi Jinping personally decided to write off debts amounting to 100 billion yuan, approximately $15 billion for countries in Africa. Yet, for man-made flood damages, the commoners are urged to contribute to relief efforts. Only the shameless Communist Party could do such a thing in this world, one commented.